Now, I know this sounds ironic coming from me, but I have an absolutely fantastic video for you guys. I'm really pumped to actually show off some of these brand new games that are live right now, which is super cool. There's some great talking points and a huge win for consumers. We have a lot of CMON news and some announcements there. There's a lot to go over, some crazy looking stuff that I've never seen before that with some weird Photoshop. We'll talk about all of this. Okay, so there's a lot coming in on this video. So timestamps down below, links down below. Let's get to it. And yes, if you're asking, I totally stole the banner to Dante from Essence Spiel. That's from their booth. I thought it'd be really funny to have a huge banner of a cool game or whatever in the background. So just thought that would be really cool. We're going to start out on this game right here. This is The Old King's Crown, A Tale of Royalty, Rebels, and Ruses. I'd only shown a preview link to this before. It is now on Kickstarter, 4,000 plus backers. This is the first time creators here. Over 300,000 raids. They are doing something right. So what's going on here? Well, as you can see, it's 1 to 4 players, which is really nice to see. It is 60 to 90 minutes. I don't know how viable that is, though I think it would work because of how the turn structure and stuff like that. It says funded in 30 minutes. Look, that almost doesn't matter. With over 4,000 backers as a new creator, that's just incredible. That's just awesome. It has some fantastic art. It really does. That I really enjoy this art. It's very detailed, right? There's a lot of little nuance to it. And it's this really cool kind of cartoony look to it, but also super realistic, hence all the lines, stuff like that. Really, really enjoyed. And the colors look great. The gameplay seems cool too. So what's going on here? Essentially, a lot of different things. It says right here what makes this special, and I really appreciate all that. One of the big ones to point out here is it was all designed, developed, playtested, and drawn over 5 years. This is not a new game. This is not an ideal or a concept. This is a game that's ready to go and just needs your guys' funding to actually deliver. And I think that's awesome and great. It's low luck, so all you guys that like your Euro games, you're going to enjoy this. But there's a lot to love for people who are very into theme and thematics and stuff like that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So scrolling down a little bit, they have a gameplay overview, but essentially you do a year. So you have these different seasons, and that's what's kind of nice. It reminds me a lot of Blood Rage and stuff like that, where you have distinct, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then the game ends, right? So you have your spring, you have your summer, you got your fall, you got your winter, and then you're good to go, right? So in spring, you're doing certain things when it comes to getting all your tokens and stuff like that. And there's obviously a lot of gameplay here. You guys can take a look at it. If there's one critique of the campaign page, is that there's a lot of text because they have a lot of information. They have a lot of lore. They have a lot of fluff. They have a lot of everything. And so you kind of have to go through that. In the summer, you're playing down these cards face down, and some of them can be like combat cards that kill other people's characters or some junk like that. Either way, you're assigning them out, and then of course you do the reveal and stuff like that. So that's the autumn, where then suddenly everything actually goes through it. And again, there's nuance within all of this, of course. And then in the winter, they all come back, and then you score and do all the stuff there. So that's a gross simplification of it, but there's your initial idea. Again, they have tutorial videos. They have a ton here. It's really, really good. This lady always calls you Pumpkin, by the way. So I think that's super cool. So as you can see, base pledge. We're going to go ahead and look at the converted cost here for real dollars. $64 for the base game. The Wild Kingdom expansion, which as you can see with 2,237 backers, definitely a popular one at 104. That's not bad at all, I think, for this beautiful of a game. And then 633 are in the all-in for 122. Now the reason the all-ins typically have more. The reason this isn't is because it's literally an all-in. It's literally this plus art prints. That's it. That's the all-in. They made the game. They're putting the game on there. They're not inundating you with add-ons and stuff like that. Really, really appreciate it. There are no stretch goals in this campaign, and they still made over $300,000. It's possible you can make good money. You just have to have a good game, and it looks like that's what they're doing here. Premium right up front, looks really great, looks awesome. Again, these cards and stuff, they look fantastic. They're tarot sized, so they're really big cards. It's gonna be a joy to interact with this game, to look at and stuff like that. There is one thing I want to see here. The Wild Kingdom, this is the Kickstarter exclusive thing that you get here with this base game plus Wild Kingdom expansion. It's why that has the most backers there at $104. And it comes with this Night Kingdom map tiles and then some tokens and a nice drawstring bag and stuff like that. But then it has these like moving town modules. So there's the traveling one, the aeronauts, and the whispering tower module that seem really, really cool. And then a legendary creatures module with art to be revealed during the campaign. So that'll be super cool to see. And then the art prints are just these nice foil art prints that you get and you get to vote on. Looks super cool. So anyway, then it goes over everything. You can totally take a look at it. And again, this is linked below, of course, but really impressed. Rule books there, tabletop simulators game. They have checked all these boxes. Really impressed to see all that. Really, really nice. There's a solo mode. I know a lot of you guys are very interested in that. More videos. Meet the team, right? Look at all that. See how the art was created. It's fantastic to see that. This is really cool. They're thanking everybody from IV Games to Panda and everybody that's kind of been helping them with the get this game ready for prime time. And then just unloading of videos. A whole bunch of stuff there. Playthroughs. They got it all. Really impressed. The only other thing I wanted to note is at the very end, it says, I hope you liked what you saw of our little kingdom. You're welcome back anytime, Pumpkin. Again, this like redheaded grandmother, fairy godmother kind of lady. Really enjoy. That's fun. So anyway, super cool. Definitely want to put that right up front in the video. Next up, we have Book of Skulls, Slayer of Eragoth. A very much more of an indie take on things. This is something that is like so made for crowdfunding. It's just not even funny. It's not that it's like super premium or anything like that. It's just, it's so niche that it's cool that if this does fund, right now it's at 6,000, 85 backers, and it's 14,000. But again, if this looks interesting to you, check it out. Link in the description below, of course, and there's still 27 days to go. It's 2 to 4 players, so no solo here, and that's a big point here. I'll talk about the gameplay in a moment. It says 1 to 2 hours per map, and you can play as many maps as you want, over time even, ages 14 and up. It says dungeon crawlers, metal music, and fantasy, and they're not kidding about that. This guy, I think, is a musician, if I'm not mistaken. So he has all this like metal music. There's an app. It's not required, but it does play music if you want to. So if you want the like, electric guitar solo going on and some high-pitched like hair band singing kind of stuff going on, there's a lot of that going on too, even in the trailer. But what makes this interesting that's a little bit different here is this Slayers and Demons thing. So essentially, again, 2 to 4 players, so either 2 or 4. I would say you could probably do 3. I don't know. They don't really talk about that, but I'm sure you can manage. Either way, you play as both. Essentially, it's like a 1 versus many where both people play the Overlord. Essentially, you have your Slayers and you have your Demons. And your Slayers, you're trying to defeat the final boss before them. It's competitive. But at the same time, you're also trying to destroy their demons, and their demons are trying to destroy you. So they're controlling your demons and attacking you with that, and you're trying to kill them. Vice versa, you have your demons, and you're trying to have them kill their Slayers, and their Slayers are trying to kill your demons, and vice versa. So you're both attacking your enemy and attacking his enemy. Like, it's a very cool concept to do that. You can also do a normal kind of Slayers versus Demons where one is an Overlord just playing the demons and you're just the Slayer. So you can do that as well if you want to. Kind of a 1 versus many, or more of a 1v1 in that sense. Or I guess maybe even 2v2. But typically you play as both. And I think that's super cool. It's definitely a lot different. You can see these maps here. You're kind of moving around there. Again, there is an app. And it looks like the app is fairly useful there. They say also 150 characters, and you choose 16 Slayers for your team. So that's pretty intense. That's a lot. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to play through all that. I would imagine. Oh yeah, here it is right there. The either Slayers versus Demons or Slayer and Demons versus Slayer and Demons. Which again, kind of cool. Definitely different. I really appreciate that. There's some overview and extended overview and stuff like that. Some of the mechanics where you're spawning everything and how you get units and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot to go over there, of course. Music is very big there, of course, and they have some of the music there. If you like classic metal music, that's definitely it. That's definitely there. Hair to Spiel said, I can't imagine playing without the app, and I can kind of understand that. So while the app is not required to play the game, when it comes to tracking all these different movements and areas and stuff like that, I think, as you can see, even the app has a lot of info on it. So it's definitely, there's a lot there. In fact, if you go to the components here, not only are you going to see like a ton of detail here, but if you look at, I love this, the quick reference sheet, looks like a government document of some kind. Like, it looks hardcore. They got file taxes that look like that. So it's definitely a what seems to be a fairly chunky dungeon crawl RPG with some competitive aspect to it, which there's not a lot of competitive dungeon crawls, especially not ones that are only just 1 versus many. So definitely kind of cool. Also $15 shirt that looks pretty cool. So anyway, feel free to check it out. Again, it's all linked down below. That's super cool to see. I love games like this, love campaigns like this, because it's totally what I think crowdfunding is all about, is making something like this possible. It would never hit retail like this. It's way too stylized and focused to a niche audience. But if you're their audience, then this is definitely for you. And I think that's super cool. Moving on from that, we have a weird one here. Nova Aetas Renaissance: The Last Chance by Loose Man Studio. Now you might be thinking, I backed that years ago and I don't have it. Why is there a Game Found campaign for it now? Because people are going to be able to get it even though they didn't back it back then. In fact, they're going to get it in a few weeks while you also get yours in a few weeks. So they're getting at the same time. What's going on? Why did Loose Man Studio do this? What are the prices? Let's discuss. Okay, so 63,000 raised from 201 backers. They set aside 500. They have sold 200, a little bit over 200. So not bad. That's a pretty good, especially for a kind of a surprise campaign. I didn't even know this was necessarily coming out. And there's still 13 days to go. And really, it's no cost to them anyway. So what's going on, all right? So if we go over here, why this campaign? Well, because they made 1,000 extra for their web store. This is very common. Often adding another 1,000 just makes every single copy a little bit cheaper because it's a bigger order. And then you need some extra anyway. It's not like you're ever like, if you have 802 backers, you're not ordering 802 copies. You're ordering in like groups of like 1,000. 1,500, 2,000, whatever, right? Like in chunks. But you need extra anyway because you actually tear those up and use those for replacement. Oh, hey, my miniature came with 2 of one copy and not one of the other ones, so I don't have this enemy. We can ship them that from a game that you have extra. So you always want some extra to be able to deal with replacements and stuff like that. But of course, yeah, if you got a web store, sell some in the web store. You may as well pack that container as full as possible. So you're paying for the container, whether you fill it up this much or this much. So pack it with a few more games. You had to print them anyway, ship them over, and then you can use them. So that makes total sense. It doesn't surprise me at all. That's very, very common. They're putting 500 available now at like a cheaper price. We'll look at that. But essentially, they're just like, hey, we'll throw this on here. And if you want the game, if it's close to being back, delivered, then you can totally get it. I think that's great because one of the big costs to Kickstarter or to Game Found or any crowdfunded board game isn't so much the money, but the fact that you're out of that money for a long time before you get that back, right? There's a big difference between paying $20 and then getting the game and paying $15, waiting 2 years and then getting the game, right? Sure, you got it cheaper, but you were out of that money for way longer, right? It's a lot more of an inconvenience to you than it was when it was just a simple exchange. So yeah, that's definitely the case there. So what is going on? What is this? It's essentially the core pledge. And as you can see here, last chance is €299, save €90 here. The LMS shopper will be €389. This €299 though, let's go and look at the rewards here. So that's not yeah, euro, but converted to dollars, it's actually kind of pricey. So if you look here, the North America one, there's still less than 190 remaining, right? Some of these less than 30 remaining in Oceania, New Zealand, Asia. So you might want to get into that. $326, right? Normally about $424. So $326 is how much it is. Now that gets you the Nova Aetas Renaissance, the Draco, the Minotaur, the Hyperion, and the Medicio. Now, the Medicio, I believe, was the one that was the early backer freebie. And these other ones, again, were also added as kind of stretch goals, although the stretch goals were put into the main game itself, the Nova Aetas Renaissance. So essentially, it's the base Kickstarter pledge if you had early backed for $326. So how much was it originally? Well, you backed it early on, $149, and then you had to add another $200 to get close to that, right? So that puts it at about $349. So real close to this $326. But you got all of this extra. So you did get the Minotaur. The Minotaur was one of the, I think it was like $10 or I don't know, something like that. But then you also get the 3 big box expansions here, plus the extra dice and art book and all sorts of stuff, right? Essentially, you're paying the collector's bundle version for what really was just this. You got the Medicio, you got the Hyperion expansion, you got the Kickstarter edition with all the stretch goals, right? And so that is what you're really getting here, plus the Minotaur and the Draco. So it's definitely a lot more expensive. It's not cheap, for sure. It's also a very big game. So people who backed on Kickstarter are getting a way better deal. Price-wise, but of course they were out of money for quite a long time before this was finally delivered. So that's kind of where that lands. I'm okay with it. I mean, I don't mind putting it out there for people who want it. It's obviously way more expensive, so the backers are still kind of honored by their price. And again, this would have been on their web shop anyway. It's just a nice way that if you were going to get it anyway, may as well save some money. And again, you get it at the exact same time now as everybody else, which is pretty cool too. You're not out of that money while it's larger for far less time. So definitely, again, check that out if you're interested. That's a pretty good deal, all things considered, though it is still pretty pricey. So just know that. And just know, again, you don't have a chance to get like everything. They didn't order like all-ins. They just ordered extras of like those buckets that they'll sell. Next up, we have Acheron's Fall by Ramper Design. This is set in the Corvus Belli universe, so the Infinity universe that they have, the sci-fi portion of that. I know they've been doing some fantasy stuff lately. This is a very interesting ship skirmish game. It is also 2-day players. And by the way, I do appreciate that GameFound has this right up here. Whether that way I don't have to like search for where they put it in an image on the Kickstarter if they did. The fact that it's something entered here, very helpful. Same with these here, though those are pretty generic. But anyway, like what there's not a lot of board games that don't have strategy. Dexterity games, I guess. Anyway, Acheron's Fall. Right now, first 48 hours, you get the Defiance ship, which is like a fairly famous ship from their dungeon crawl from back. This has a really interesting inertia thing and team-based thing as well. So you have this right here. They're calling it the inertia mass effect. Essentially, you put a little pip there and you adjust it that way. So like, let's say that's where you're faced, right? There's a little arrow and then you move this way. Then that means that you moved 2 and turn 1. And so what you do is on here, you move and then turn. It's all like hex based. So you know the side that faces it. And that's just how it works. It does, when you shoot your guns, apparently, it also does the inertia thing. And I don't know exactly how I feel about that in the like void of space when it comes to like I shot out, therefore I push back on that. I'm no scientist, but that doesn't quite pass the sniff test for me. But in the game, that's how it is. But yeah, you're essentially managing your ship, your energy shields, right? Typical science fiction, battleship kind of stuff, right? Where it's all power to shields and then, more on the weapons here. And we definitely want more of, whatever here, or these special, weapons are crewed here to be able to shoot faster or whatever. But as you start getting damaged, obviously that becomes less and less and less. It looks like it could be quite a bit of fun. Definitely unique universe. The minis are going to be pretty nice. It's also pretty expensive. So let's go and take a look. So $201 for the early bird. And that has essentially all the expansions as well. These 2 big box expansions. Otherwise, it's $92 for just the one. That's not too bad, especially when you get the stretch goals. So this play mat, by the way, it's about 3 foot by 3 foot. So you have it's a little bit less. It's 90 centimeter, I think, by 90 centimeters, something like that. Either way, if you have a 3 by 3 foot space mat, you can just use that, of course, as well. So if we come down here to stretch goals, they are adding new ships, which are pretty cool. Plus a plastic tray, which is very useful whenever you're setting that out. Little tokens on there, especially with how close those are. It's like there's like 5 things there. It can get kind of finicky. So having a tray clasped, kind of like what was in Cthulhu Death May Die, in the Kickstarter version at least, you get those plastic trays. So it essentially makes it a dual layer board on the cheap, which is pretty cool. Okay, so what do you get? You get 4 highly detailed plastic miniatures. Again, now you're getting 6 so far, right? So it keeps going up, of course. And then you get all the different, tokens and pivot tokens and colored cubes to assign to everything and stuff like that. Now, the miniatures obviously look quite nice, of course. These are freaking sweet ships there. I love those. And they'll keep coming out, I think, with more as well. But they're going to be made, if I scroll down here a little bit, with the Unicool system. The Unicool system is also what made here. So if I scroll over to here, you'll see Eldfall Chronicles. Here's one of the Eldfall Chronicle minis right here, so you can kind of see detail-wise. Again, this is probably not the best mini to actually show detail, but you can see the cracks and stuff like that on the skin and stuff. They're nice minis. They are. They're I think preferred to resin because they are a little flexible, right? So that you can actually play with them, which is kind of nice. But closer to resin quality of detail. So yeah, looks very cool. So anyway, yeah, kind of pricey. As you can see, the size of them, by the way, these are about 32 millimeter high. It depends on the pose, 28 to 32 millimeter high miniatures for the Infinity. And so then these are fairly big, around 40, 45 millimeter size ships, depending on the ship, of course. So anyway, that's that one. I'll link down to that below. They're at 118,000, still going up, about 624 backers. Ideally, they get to that 1,000 range. That's kind of the ideal, I think. Okay, saw the Jigsaw Trials. Now this, to me, doesn't look like that great of a game. It looks okay, but... all right, I'll explain the game. So the game, and what it comes with, by the way, crazy. But the game, you're essentially, you're going to be the replacement to Jigsaw. So you have to, like, both survive the traps, but also create your own traps. And so you're busy, like, slotting these cards to, like, make your own traps there, or tests, as they're calling it. And there's a lot of different combos between the three that make that. And then as you get damaged, you essentially start losing limbs and stuff like that until you die. So, you know, there is that, I suppose. What it comes with, though, the collector's edition here, comes with a life-sized severed hand. Which, if you're a fan of Saw, is pretty darn cool. In fact, that I almost want it just for that. Like, I think the game looks a little kind of ugly. Just my personal preference on style just doesn't look the best to me. It's kind of a cool concept. But yeah, this hand just comes in a whole separate card. It's got like the bones and it's disgusting. It's perfect for the theme, I think. So anyway, you get these tools and stuff like that to be able to solve it, of course. And then you have your little stats and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a game here. I don't know if it necessarily has the lasting power for something I would necessarily want. The price also, I don't know if you saw this or not, about $55. That's not too bad. And the special edition is $80, and it comes with that like hand, which is actually a really good deal. Like, if you just want the hand for like a Halloween prop or something like that, you'd probably spend about $80 for something like that normally. Depending on the quality, obviously, that we're not seeing the actual version of what you get. But assuming it looks close to that, that's not bad at all. $80 for that is pretty good. And you get a game on top of it. So there's that. 27 days ago, almost 1,500 backers, about 100,000. Let me know what your thoughts are if you look into this more. It does have a solo mode. Otherwise, it's 1 to 6 players. Obviously, 18 plus. Though again, I don't know if you necessarily need 18 plus on this. Just depends on how you are with kind of cartoonish gore, actually. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the longevity of this. If this is something that you could see playing quite a few times, I'm a little uncertain there. Next up, we have The Witcher Path of Destiny by Go On Board. This has only 4 days left, so I wanted to get this in here in this video just in case I don't cover it again before it closes. They're at about 2.8 million. I suspect, obviously, they're going to go to 3 million or more on this, which is pretty darn impressive. I think part of the reason it's done so well, besides the IP, which obviously they get a lot of money from that, and the fact that, as far as I can tell, reviews have been fairly favorable. I know I enjoyed my time with it. I enjoyed playing it actually quite a bit. Is the fact that they've been adding quite a bit of value to the base one. Now, the focus is on the add-ons, and there's some grumbling there. We'll get into that. But let's first look at like what you're getting here. So they just recently, for instance, added this big golden dragon with all these like amber-looking kind of fancy colored plastic flame tokens, stuff like that. They've been adding a whole lot of more characters, so a ton of that. Really premiumizing, pimping out the game with nice like metal coins and stuff like that. Several new tales. So there's actually quite a few tales involved. I want to say 6. I think there's 6 now, something like that. Just in the base game alone. Anyway, quite a bit. So like they've actually really pumped this game full of stuff. And it's one of those dangerous things where if you come in without enough content, you don't unlock all of the content and the stretch goals that you're obviously planning, right? I mean, they didn't just like invent these renders. So they've been working on this. But they definitely did get enough to be able to unlock these. So there is definitely a lot more value there than there was day one. So that's good. That's appreciated. I think we all appreciate that. It just adds a whole lot more stuff. And again, this quality upgrade when it comes to like stitch play mats for this stuff, just very, very nice. Very premium product that they're offering here. And of course, a cool parrot. So there's that too. The add-ons. So we have the Wild Hunt expansion. So it came in at $40. And it adds, obviously, the Wild Hunt DLC kind of stuff here. So it's a whole separate board here. And then you play essentially as this Wild Hunt character that then has all these different abilities. And so it plays very similar to that, except you have all these guys that are going out there. So you have these guys here. So anyway, there's some differences there. It's definitely a spin on the typical gameplay. Then they came out with this one, the Ronin standalone game. Now this is $60, which technically, if you go up to the rewards here, the standard pledge is $55. So this is an add-on more expensive than the pledge. And typically you never, ever want to do this. it's this weird concept where it's great that the standard pledge is so low. That's awesome that that's the case. However, it really limits your add-ons to that or less, like 100%. When you start doing that, people instantly notice the difference. So even if it's only because this is so cheap, it doesn't matter. It's still bad. Like, you don't want to have an add-on more expensive than the pledge. Just, I've never seen that have a good reaction. So this is $60. What's going on? Essentially, it is a spin on the game. So this plays different. It's like adding the gods to Blood Rage, right? It's like, this is the same game, but like morphed in a different way. And in fact, I think a fairly different way. Now, it is standalone, which means you do get a few things that you may not necessarily need extra. However, it's all themed kind of appropriately. This is based off the manga that they have, the Ronin manga. So it's all the characters, but like manga style. So this is Geralt, sorry, Yennefer, and then you got Ciri here, and then Jaskier, which is, I believe, obviously the Bard, and then Triss. There's one character here, Vesemir Yuki Onna. So this Yuki Onna, I believe, is the character that is unique to the Ronin manga. So anyway, with this, you get essentially weird, it's like more co-op than anything else. In fact, I think they explain it way down here. Obviously, the 3D printed bases also look fantastic. These are definitely way styled. I wish the main ones looked like this, to be honest. That's nice. Like, that's pretty darn cool. Obviously, this is a render. The actual mini will look a little bit different. It will be a little bit less quality. Don't go in expecting this is like a poured resin, 120 millimeter. You could get this detail. Otherwise, yeah, don't count on it. But still, very cool design, very interesting. I love all the different poses and stuff like that. So, and look at the art. Just beautiful art. Beautiful art. I actually really wish the art looked like this in the main game. I really do. Okay, so right here it says, Ronin is much more than an aesthetic change. The core of the game itself works differently. And that's very true. It like fundamentally works differently. Focusing players' attention on characters' relationships. In Ronin, players not only try to select and play the best cards possible, as always, but also cooperate with each other, with the neighboring player, to achieve the best possible common bonuses. The box contains 5 two-sided partnership tracks to place between adjacent players. New symbols and effects on action cards often require neighbors to use the same tactic to play cards. They allow players to move up in their tracks collectively, earning additional bonuses. In Ronin, you compete with other players for points, but putting some effort into partnering with your neighbors earns you important additional benefits. A variety of characters, partnership tracks, and a large deck of action cards will make every visit to Japanese universe of The Witcher diverse and exciting. Feel like a Ronin walking around the Destiny, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, it says right here, in this version of the game, the story cards are replaced with beautifully illustrated round cards. At the end of the round, players receive victory points for the symbols they collect less of, and experience points for the symbols they collect more of, which is reversed. The new way of scoring forces players to look at the right balance in their card timeline. So it means they need to take the strategic decisions to combine them with the constant cooperation of your neighbors at the table. So I think that's actually really cool. It makes it to where essentially we're all competing, but also we kind of have to work together. It kind of you do that when you play the game. So when you play the normal game, depending on your group, of course, but at least with my group here, when you play it, you really are kind of like trying to like work together to do similar things while at the same time being the best at it, right? And you're kind of eyeing each other and or fake people out, like you get all that kind of stuff. And this one, the same kind of thing, but it like drives it into like the ground where it's like, this is very overtly like mixing the alliance token from Rising Sun with this game, where it's like, now we really have, like, there is incentive for both of us to work together, but still, it'll just make Betrayal that much, like, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how that plays. I think that's pretty cool. So it's a very different way of playing it, and honestly, it would feel very different. If you don't think theme is very important, then probably not, but then you're probably not on the Witcher board game anyway, because it oozes theme. So this will feel very different when it comes to that, which is pretty cool. The thing I didn't check is if it's any different tales or not. I don't believe it is, but maybe it is. I'm not exactly sure. So let me know in the comments below if they actually answer that. Anyway, 1 to 5 players, 45, 90 minutes, 14 plus, $55 base pledge. Obviously, that's pretty cheap, but do know that their add-ons kind of pricey. Moving on from that, we got Stars of Akarios 1.5. That's coming out in 4 days, so link down to that below. It's going to be pretty big. Star of Akarios, I heard a lot of people very much enjoyed, but then it definitely had its flaws. So 1.5 for this may be like like chef's kiss, right? Like really, really good. So be interested to see how that looks like in its final form. 15,000 people are following this already, and you do get a free gift, a booster pack. Everybody loves the booster pack. If you got cards, wrap it in some wasteful plastic, boom, you got yourself an awesome booster pack that people get pumped about. So yeah, feel free to get that if you sign up early. Next up, Tiny Epic Cthulhu was also announced by Gamelin Games. Now, Gamelin Games, my understanding, has had a few hits or misses, and I've had a few issues when it comes to delivery, especially because they deliver boxes and bags. It breaks my heart every time. However, some of their games are actually pretty darn meaty and pretty darn good. Will the Cthulhu one be that way? Don't know. I do like the idea of an Elder God larger than life miniaturized into a tiny epic game. I think that almost like the tiny part just really is like in conversed to the epic part of the Cthulhu, which is kind of cool. It's a cooperative game, 1 to 4 players. We'll see what's more than that. Over 8,000 followers already. Obviously, link down in the description below. Next up, we have this. Now, I know this is a 3D print, but hear me out. This is weird and kind of crazy and a good point. It's an Elegoo OrangeStorm Giga, gigantic volume fast FDM 3D printer. As you can see, this thing is massive. So if you want to 3D print something big, you can do this. Cosplayers are going to love this. That being said, 300 millimeters per second, which is pretty fast. However, the Carbon X1 from Bamboo prints at 500, so it's still not like the fastest ever. And of course, quality and speed matter. And so, you know, it just depends on which one you want there. This one, though, 800 millimeter by 100 millimeter by 1,000 millimeters, is about 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet by about 3.25 feet. So unless this person is the tiniest midget lady ever on a miniature desk, they have photoshopped this thing to be way bigger than it actually is. So just as an FYI, or it's that big and it's ridiculous. But even then, so this is a print bed, right? So obviously it's not printing on all of this area here. So it's maybe a little wasteful there, but still that's not more than, maybe 4 feet? Like, I don't know. I think there's some Photoshop going on there for sure. Be kind of interesting though. Anyway, just want to let you know there's some crazy stuff going on. So yeah, definitely if you're into 3D printing though, or if you've been wanting to print this, one of the nice things about a big area, even if you don't use the Z, or the Z for you guys, how tall it is, board game inserts. A lot of people print their board game inserts. You could print like the whole insert here. It's the size of the box. You could totally do it, which is pretty cool, I think. All right, next up. Zombicide Dark Age Chronicles, the role-playing game. They drop even the Black Plague. Right, so this is going to be you able to like live in the Zombicide universe, which what sounds cooler than that? One of the fun things about Zombicide is the world, because what it does is it takes what's traditionally a horror, gory, scary universe, post-apocalyptic, and makes it funny. It makes it fun. You know, you're on roller skates with a chainsaw going around. Like it's ridiculous. You're hitting people with frying pans. It's a blast of a theme and a world. So I think an RPG setting in that is just asking for a ton of fun. So when more of this comes out, we'll let you know. Oh, it is actually the Black Plague Zombicide Dark Age Chronicles is what they're calling it there. That's what they name Black Plague there. So that'll be pretty cool. I am sure I'll let you know more about that. Next up, Studium No Exit. You may have had me cover this a little bit when it was launched. I am not super confident in this game. This definitely didn't. It's like they're trying to copy Kingdom Death Monster by doing everything that Kingdom Death Monster did wrong. Is how I feel. They're very much, from my experience, style over substance. They're not very good at explaining a lot of details of their game. People still have very basic questions about some of the different like hallways and stuff like that. But what they're doing here, first of all, the danger of, I don't want to say lying, but the danger of communicating in a way that makes things seem different than they are. For instance, this is a 222,000 campaign. Now, you might think that's a lot of money, but that's not profit, that's revenue. They still have to make and deliver this game, this very big game, because they want it to be big, just like Kingdom Death Monster and Aeon Trespassasi and all that other stuff, right? And so they have this big game that they want to deliver that's like awesome and massive and has all this different stuff and is super complex and all that on $222,000. And yet they talk about stuff like a boards lead. Now, not only do I not know what a boards lead is, I'm assuming like the game boards, but having a lead, and this is one of those things where it's like, if I made a company, I'm the CEO and the CFO and the CTO and the board of directors and the gameplay lead and so I don't even know what a board's lead is, but the idea that it's a lead typically means that there are direct reports to them, or at least a team that they're helping to run and manage. And so that's almost assuming like, oh, we have a team of board designers and this is the lead of that. It makes it insinuate that it's different. For instance, let's also talk about their Seattle office. Now, again, you're not getting an office in Seattle for years on $222,000 while still also making and delivering game. That is literally not possible. But your Seattle office could be your living room, right? So it's one of these things where they're talking like there's some like big company that does all this stuff, that has lead board teams and an office in Seattle and stuff, and it's like, it's probably just the dude's office in his home, which is fine. I don't appreciate the insinuation or implication or kind of like loose wording to and make it seem like something other than reality. Keep it real, guys. Don't. It's not a boards lead. You got a person that did your boards in your game. That's totally fine. And if you do have a team on the boards, then you're wasting your money. But they're also focusing on some of the problems here when it comes to that I'm going to be talking about more in another separate video. A lot of these companies focus on generating money, and that's their main focus, not necessarily making a game. So they've already launched, for instance, one of their big things right after the Kickstarter. Hey, we just raised a bunch of money on Kickstarter. Hey, we also now have get a little excited there. Drop my soda. We also now have a shop, and we'll 3D print minis, and you can buy those. And by the way, I feel I can print minis better on my Elegoo Mars 2 than this. This doesn't actually look super great quality to me, but they're trying, and I appreciate that. I think that's kind of cool, I guess. But it's just a 3D printed mini that you get to order, so you can paint them ahead of time. It just I don't appreciate the focus on money generation over game. And I feel like the focus in is, I want to make money off this, and how can I do it as quick as possible? I want to go directly from a Kickstarter. I don't even know, is there a pledge manager here? Can I even back that? No, there's not even a pledge manager yet, but they do have a web shop open. Did you see the focus difference there? One's, I'm taking care of my backers. One's, how can I get more money from them as soon as possible? I don't like that inclination. I don't like their Seattle office or their boards lead on a $220,000. I mean, great that they did that. Fantastic. You got 1,000 backers, $220,000. I'm worried, and I just worry for you guys. I'm worried they're just spending money. I'm worried they actually do have a Seattle office, and they think that they can pay for that office for so long, or that their 3D print will just hopefully pay for it, I guess. I think they need an accountant lead, I think is what they need. So I'm kind of worried about that. Very, very worried. I'll be monitoring that closely. I'm not seeing the passion and focus that I want. Final thing here. A huge victory. Going from that to positive. We're in on a positive note. This is proof that the kind of videos I make, that the kind of comments you guys leave, public outcry and a call to action to have board game companies change, and then having that affect their financials works. It works, and it makes your life better. It makes my life better. It makes your neighbor's life better, or your backer neighbors, whoever, your peers, right? This is better for all backers. If you recall, back in Marvel Zombies, right? I had a video where I leaked this on Amazon, the Canadian Amazon, I believe. There was a blurry link to this game. Nobody had ever heard of this before, this Heroes Resistance. It was unknown. It was like nobody knew about this. Nobody. And so I made a video on it, called it out about how it was like $65 or something like that. Or like at I don't remember. It was something cheap though. It was like, I think it was like $40 is what it showed at the time. So it was like $40. You played as heroes. I'm like, what the heck? And the Kickstarter campaign, you had to spend $150 to get the hero expansion. What's going on? Right? And then only after the video came out, there was a few buzz because people linked to it. That's how I knew about it. I didn't like discover it. You guys helped me discover this. But there was a call, there was a big push on like, hey, you guys didn't tell us there was going to be something at retail where I could play as heroes for cheaper, and before other people got their game, before backers got their game. This is going to be in stores. They even changed it because there were so many people upset to where now it could be 2-wave, and you could get your wave 1 with the same time as this. Like, it was a huge thing at the time. So, now that they're doing DCeased, CMON's doing DCeased, a Zombicide game, they are telling you upfront ahead of time, and I love this. As has been done in previous projects, the release, not the telling of us, DCeased, a Zombicide game, will also have a direct-to-retail, mass-market version, a modified core box with a streamlined scope intended for more casual players. In other words, exactly this. I did a review of this. I actually really like this. It has been one of my favorite Zombicide purchases because it didn't cost me $300, like I normally spend on Zombicide, and I got to play as heroes. The minis are still very good, sculpted bases, all that kind of stuff. It's only to 4 players, so it is a little bit less, but it uses the exact same mechanics. I know it says like for casual players just means like they're not dropping $300. Casual spenders more than casual players. It's the same freaking game. Because it's 4 players, the maps are a little bit smaller as well. But yeah, either way, that's pretty cool. It is also expected to hit retail before pledges are shipped out. So just know going into the DCeased campaign, and I'm not saying don't back it. I know I probably will. Love DC. I'm a big fan. I love Marvel too, which is why I have this. But I like DC more. I'm pumped for this, but I am so glad that that video made a difference, that your guys' reaction made a difference. I know a lot of people focus on the negativity, right? A lot of people see me covering stuff like Studium and yelling at it, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's negative. I want my positive board game experience. But that negativity, if properly criticized and like focused, can bring about a better, more positive board game experience for everybody. Now, there's not going to be somebody that doesn't know about this. Now, granted, they only posted this on Facebook. I don't know if it's going to be their Kickstarter, but now it's in this video. It's in the thumbnail. It's in the title. You guys know about it, and I'll keep mentioning it because we know about it now. I don't have to guess and maybe assume they're telling us, and they're telling us because we made a fuss. Companies don't change unless it's profitable for them. Unless they think they can get more money changing, they won't change. That's how that works. They have to be forced to change. Why would you do something different if it won't make you any more money? So unless there is enough upsetness to where it could potentially cost them to not do this, right? Because their worry, I assume, to keep this a secret and not mention this ever to anybody until they were called out, is you won't back our campaign, you'll just want this. In other words, they don't care what you would want more. They care about keeping you like in the dark so that you can just give them more money out of ignorance when you would actually just want that, is the worry, which is probably why they propped the hero side for the $150 pledge, right? So the fact that they're doing this means that they believe that they will get more money being honest to us because we'll call them out if they're not. And I love that. It's a positive thing. I'm not upset at CMON for being a publicly traded, money-hungry business. That's normal business. Every other business is like that. They're all garbage, right? Like, I don't hate CMON for that. I am glad that we, the backers, can make it better, can make them act better because it's more profitable for them to just be honest with us, to just talk to us and let us know what our options are, where we can spend our money, so that when we do back DCeased, we're happy backers. We know exactly what we're getting into, and we're happy about it. That's what they want, and hopefully that's what they'll get. Good on them for doing this. Big props, a positive thing. Wonderful. All right, with that, I apologize for some of the edits. I know there's going to be a few cuts here. My editor's going to have to cut out a few coughs. I am still recovering a little bit from a cold. I apologize for the lax in videos as I get through this, but I'm good enough to talk now, and there's definitely some great stuff to cover here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. There's a lot more than what I just covered here. Link down in the description below. There's a ton of links. Seriously, I tend to max out that description limit. They literally say no more characters. That's enough. That's your 9,000 character limit. Maxed out. There's a ton down there. So feel free to check it out. See what's coming up. See what you might want to sign up for. What's available right now that I didn't even cover in today's video. All in the description below. If this video was helpful for you at all, please like the video. If you want to see more videos just like this and other cool stuff, especially coming up, I got end of year stuff, so a lot of top 10s, some cool unboxings showing off, a huge look into 2024, what's coming up. It's going to be a ton of fun. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you have not. I do appreciate it. Guys, thank you so very much. Have a great day. Bye, guys.